All right, so Matt, the other day Ashley was getting on to me because she was upset that I don't buy her flowers. And I'll be honest with you, man, I didn't know she sold flowers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales. All right, everybody, here we are again. Matt, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I'm doing all right.
Good deal. Good deal. So before we get into it, I'll say that I'm getting over a head cold type thing, so excuse my voice. I may sound like Kermit the Frog here on steroids. I don't know, but I'll find out when I'm editing this episode how I actually sound. But we want to say go check out podbelly.com. We're proud to be a member of the Podbelly Network. So you can go over there to podbelly.com and find a list of shows that we're happy to be associated with, and you can find some tips and tricks on podcasting. We also want to thank tonight's sponsor, Undies. And, you know, while you're on the internet doing your thing, go check out our sponsors. Go over to our Undies code, get you some Undies. And if you guys buy a lot of Undies, Matt and I will show you which Undies we wear.
We'll show you our Undies.
Mm-hmm. Or do you think it'd be more effective, Matt, to say if you buy a lot, we won't show you
that
our
may
MeUndies?
Work.
Okay.
You know, keep buying, and that'll keep us from having to show you our underwear.
Yep. Keep buying MeUndies, and we'll keep our pants on. So that's how that'll go. But also, while you're on the internet, share the show. Share an episode. If there's a topic that we've done that you absolutely love, share it on social media. You know, share the jokes, the intro jokes. If you like the intro joke, share part of the episode. Just share the show and let's bring more people into the graveyard. That's how independent podcasts like Graveyard Tales grow and get to new audiences. So go over there on whatever platform you're on and share one of our posts about an episode, or create your own post about something that you liked about one of our episodes and share it with people.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea. If you enjoy our show, tell somebody else about it so they can enjoy it too.
Yep. And we've put the videos up on YouTube so you can get over there and share the video and watch us doing it. You can share our faces, whatever. YouTube makes it easy to share them. So go over there and share that. So Matt, that's all I've got. So why don't you tell us, what are we talking about tonight, brother?
All right. So tonight we're doing something a little different. This is all my show.
Yeah, buddy.
I had all the research, and Adam is gonna pitch in his witty remarks. So I kind of pondered on this for a while. You know, I wanted to make it count if I was going to do it all. So I decided that we were going to talk about tonight why I am amazing and Adam is just okay.
I think that'll be great.
Nah. I would have used the old superhumans joke, but we've already done it. So
yeah, that's true.
If you've been with us from the beginning, you understand what that is. But all jokes aside, what we are going to discuss tonight, what I am going to discuss tonight, is something I had never heard of. So when I came across this, I had sent it to Adam, and we kind of debated a few weeks ago, and then I decided that this was a good opportunity to do it because it was cryptid-oriented, and that's Adam's gig, so I figured he would really enjoy this. We're going to talk about the Solomon Islands dragon snake.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah, like just with a name like that.
Yeah.
And considering that the Solomon Islands has a bunch of crazy stuff going on there anyway,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is surprised. But Adam, I think you're going to be surprised with the direction this show goes.
All right. All right. I'm interested.
It's gonna knock your socks off. I'm telling you. All right. So the Solomon Islands is a sovereign state in Oceania. Okay. It's east of Papua New Guinea, and it consists of nearly 1,000 different islands.
Wow.
Now, in size, it covers an area that's slightly smaller than the state of Maryland. Okay, so it kind of gives you an idea of how large this island group is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
to have so many islands, they're smaller islands.
They're small islands. Yeah, very small. And it's not like they're all inhabited. You know, they're not. Mm-hmm. There's little bitty ones. Nobody lives there. But if you're kind of figuring out like where the hell is Papua New Guinea? Okay, it's all down Australia, New Zealand, all down in that area.
Right.
Okay. So that just kind of gives you, South Pacific area. Now, the Solomon Islands are believed to have been inhabited by the Melanesian people for thousands of years. Spanish navigator Alvaro de Mendaña discovered the islands in 1568 and named them Islas Salomon. The United Kingdom established a protectorate over the Solomon Islands in 1893, and in the Second World War, there was fierce fighting between the Americans and the Japanese in the Solomon Islands campaign from 1942 to 1945, including the Battle of Guadalcanal. Now, when you hear, most people are like, where, what, who? You say Guadalcanal, and they're like, oh, yeah. Especially if they're a World War II history buff. Now, it is believed that the Papuan-speaking settlers began to arrive around 30,000 BC.
Wow.
30,000 BC. Think about that.
That's crazy.
The Austronesian speakers arrived around 4,000 BC. And they also brought cultural elements such as like the outrigger canoe.
Okay.
The canoe that's got the piece that sticks out. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds very simplistic, but you think about what that does for fishing, transportation. Yeah. I mean, it's a big development, and stuff like that changes society.
Absolutely.
Because it completely takes things in a direction that no one's been going in before.
Right. You can go further out, ride the waves more, and it's such a big advantage. They still use that today. You look at the people there that are fishing, they still use the outrigger canoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was between 1200 and 800 BC that the ancestors of the Polynesians, the Lapita people, arrived from the Bismarck archipelago with their characteristic ceramics. Okay? Now, nevertheless, the people of the Solomon Islands were infamous for headhunting and cannibalism before the arrival of the Europeans. 120 indigenous languages are spoken in the Solomons.
Wow.
Okay, so this gives you that headhunting and cannibalism thing. A lot of Europeans were attacked when they showed up because they had never seen a white man.
Yeah. Yeah.
They thought it was the end of the world. Okay. So a lot of that stuff that about the quote unquote savages and headhunting and cannibals and all this kind of stuff, a lot of that was glorified, because they weren't able to actually witness a lot of what traditional life was like for the natives.
Right.
They come in there and all of a sudden Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if the moon was populated and all of a sudden we showed up.
Yeah.
They're like, where the hell did y'all come from?
Yep. Well, and the native people are just protecting their land, their area.
Right.
You got a bunch of people that embarking on a trek across your little island and you hadn't seen these people before. You're going to get defensive and like, nope, you're not coming in here to take this. And I'm sure the people landing there were not nice.
Yeah.
It's not like they were bringing gifts of, here's some chocolates and stuff. They were coming in going, we're taking this. So they were, it probably, like you said, it got like embellished a little bit. I'm sure they probably, practiced some cannibalism and headhunting, but the people that escaped went back and went, dude, do not go there.
Right.
Like, we took 100 people there. I'm the only one that got out. They ate everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was embellished a little bit, but.
Yeah, that's what I always wondered is like, who was around to tell the story of the cannibalism?
Yep. He comes back missing half of his head, and he's.
Yeah, they tried the head hunting, but it didn't take.
Yeah, right. I got it back. I found it.
Now, the capital, I'm going to mispronounce this one, and this was one I forgot to look up. Honaria is located on the island of Guadalcanal. All right, the island natives, they've got a long history of folklore and legends, but much evidence has been found to support their stories, such as the Guadalcanal giants. You ever heard of these, Adam?
I haven't.
So these are giant bipedal humanoids with very long black, brown, or reddish hair, protruding double eyebrows, bulging red eyeballs, flat noses, and a wide gaping mouth. Now, documentation of these locally called giants can be found in the book Solomon Island Mysteries, published in 2010. But these giants are for another show.
All right.
We're looking at another creature that this book details, and it's the Solomon Islands dragon snake. Now, the Solomon Islands dragon snake is a flying, fire-breathing, dragon-like cryptid. Okay? It's reported as hostile towards humans, and there are frequent sightings of these creatures, which to a lot of people means that it's a living creature. It's not mythical, because there are so many sightings and so frequent, almost predictable.
Oh, really?
Okay? That when nighttime comes, the dragon snake comes out.
So it does seem to have like a pattern of behavior then.
Yeah. Now, the dragon snake patrolled both the coastal areas and the mountainous interior of the Solomon Islands, and the creature was responsible for people going missing and for deaths. So the dragon snake got blamed for a lot of problems. Somebody goes missing, somebody winds up dead, the dragon snake. So I imagine you could probably get away with murder and blame it on the daggum dragon snake.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you did it outside, left them near the beach or up in the mountains. Dragon snake.
Yep. Dragon snake got him. I wonder if they have a North American dragon snake that we could start blaming stuff on.
Let's do it.
All right.
North American dragon snake.
Yep.
Next show. They are described as having nocturnal behavior, and they're only seen in the form of light or a silhouette. Now, the body is kind of shaped like a man's, but the overall silhouette looks more like a stingray. There is a shape at the end of the tail, more like a diamond or a triangle. They are white or black in color with greenish brown scaly skin and piercing red eyes. they have the ability to make glowing light or bioluminescence from their body, which is usually red in color, and they use it for fishing on the coast because the light attracts fish and other sea creatures. They are also reported to have the ability to spit fire. Now, this is not traditional fire like you would think of if I say dragon and breathing fire. The fire comes in the form of a light, quote unquote, which scorches and burns upon impact. So think of it more of like a heat ray, okay? You know, the light comes, bam, and it scorches whatever it touches.
Oh, okay.
Now, the size of the body, light, whatever itself, is about 60 feet in diameter. So the wingspan of it might be larger than that. This is just what people can see.
Yeah. So like it could taper off into shadow.
Yeah.
And it could be a lot bigger.
Right. Now, the earliest depiction of a strange dragon-like creature in the Solomon Islands comes from Gerard de Jode's atlas Speculum Orbis Terrae, or Mirror of the World, which was written in 1593.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Somebody had actually documented this type of creature in the Solomon Islands.
And to me, that when you see something like that, there's only a few cryptids out there that have that type of historical documentation.
Right.
You know, Nessie being one of them, Bigfoot being, so it's like the major ones, the major one, quote unquote, that we still talk about today. Yet you don't hear, at least in North America, we don't hear about the Solomon Island dragon snake that much, if at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard of this thing.
Mm-hmm. And you think you would.
Surely.
1500s,
right.
Documented in the 1500s.
And this many sightings?
Yeah.
Hold back. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How am I just hearing about this?
Right.
I'm telling you, doing this research, it really made me think. Because I'm like, why, as much as you and I have done, how have we not come across this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like we would have at least ran across that. Where has it been hiding?
Right.
You know?
Right. But we're going to get back to that. Now, one part of the atlas, this Mirror of the World, depicts two flying creatures with bat-like wings and a long tail with flukes. Okay, so flukes would be the little flat fins that come off of an end of a tail. Okay,
Yeah.
if you know what a fluke is, it's a worm that's got kind of a little flaps on the side,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that kind of tapers down. Yeah. Okay. So that's what they're talking about. That's where the diamond or the triangle on the tail comes from.
Okay.
One creature is shown having two pelvic fins, which would be like underneath.
Yeah.
Like this thing could potentially swim.
Yeah. That's what you think of when you see you think of sharks.
Yeah. But, you know, the atlas says that these could potentially have meant to be feet.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other creature has dermal frills, okay? Similar to the ropin. You remember the ropin?
Yep.
Okay, that large bird of prey, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And these frills, these things that come out, it's like that, the dinosaur that spits in Jurassic Park, you know, the frills.
Well, and when you talked about it emitting a light source, the ropin is what I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very close, Papua New Guinea being very close to the Solomon Islands. It makes me think.
So yeah, when I came across that, I thought, okay, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a variety of roping, that has somehow managed to persist and survive.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, both creatures that are described in the atlas have a long beak or a snout or something like that. Okay. So the similarities to the roping are definitely there. But let's talk about one of the documented sightings of the dragon snake. A native had been fishing on his 19-foot fiberglass boat around 3 a.m. And apparently night fishing is a big thing. I guess larger fish come closer to the surface at night. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a fisherman.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not a coastal fisherman.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more activity at night, more shallow, because I was told by an old school fisherman about fishing, just the normal like bass fishing or bluegill fishing. Think about fish don't have eyelids to the point of being able to feed in the sun. If they were to look up at the prey, they could be looking into the sun and it would kind of distort what they see.
Huh.
So if you get the fish like in shadow or more toward dusk and night, then you would think it would be harder to see the prey, but they're actually able to see it better because they don't have the sun directly in their eyes. And maybe at night they're using that bioluminescence to feed as well. So
makes sense to me.
That's why they say don't fish high noon.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you fish high noon, nothing's going to be looking up unless you're bottom fishing. It's not going to be looking up into the sun to try to get the bait. So,
is that why maybe like on a cloudy day that people say, oh, it's a good day to fish?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I learned something.
Useless knowledge.
I have something to talk to Brooks and Amanda about. I'm telling you, I don't know anything about fishing.
There you go.
Now, back to this fisherman. So it's 3 a.m. He's out in his boat, and he sees a dragon snake flying around nearby. Now, stupidly, this guy flashes his flashlight at this thing.
Oh, geez.
And it flew over him in an instant. And it hovered overhead. Now, he panicked, so he started his motor and he took off to try to get away from it, but it followed him. So he was kind of zigzagging like he's running away from an alligator. And it was during this short pursuit to the beach that it fired some form of light at him, but it only partially hit him. And a later inspection of his fiberglass boat showed traces of scorching on some of the boat's interior paint.
Oh, wow.
He said that when he drove his boat up the beach and ran into the bush, the dragon snake followed him to where he was hiding behind a tree and hovered above him. But when he moved around to the other side of the tree, it went to the other side. So it knew he was there.
Yeah.
But it was then that he literally got down on his knees and began to pray to God with his hands clasped in front of him. And he said the dragon snake then moved on. So after that, he stumbled his way back to his village and they took him to the hospital. Okay? That is like so many other of the sightings. Wow. You're out fishing at night, bam, here it comes. And it either lights you up and burns you or burns your boat or both.
Yeah.
And if you're fortunate enough to actually get away, then you have serious injuries that have to be attended to.
And see, that right there makes me think. You get a lot of people that want to debunk cryptids, right? And even you and I look at how to debunk cryptids and cryptid sightings and stuff. What animal out there that we know of could be mistaken for this, that A, hunts at night, B, shoots a laser type thing? Because that's kind of what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound exactly like fire,
Right.
It sounds more like laser that
Mm-hmm.
when it touches, it burns. It doesn't like catch stuff on fire. I don't know of any creature out there that you could say, oh, well, he's just mistaking the laser-head peacock for this dragon snake. You know, I mean, it's simple laser-headed peacock. And
it's freaking snakes with laser beams on their freaking head.
Right. So it sounds like something is not normal, like not a normal creature out there. This is something different.
Yeah. Yeah. You're thinking the right way.
I've been told that before.
All right. So, Marius Borean, he is a former aircraft and helicopter engineer for the Royal Australian Air Force. And in 1995, he bought a house in Cape Esperance in the Solomon Islands.
Okay.
The night after he moved in, he was enjoying the evening with his friends when his friend Joseph told him the story of the dragon snake and the terror that it instilled in the locals. So Marius is kind of like, what?
Yeah, you couldn't tell me this before I bought a house here?
Yeah. Now understand, Marius's wife is a native, okay? And he said people were shocked that a white man was coming there to live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that, he's kind of married in, they started to accept him, and he already had some friends there.
Right.
Okay. And so Joseph comes up a lot when we're talking about Marius because they're kind of in this together. All right. So Joseph is an islander. Marius is from Australia. The next night, while they were out night fishing, Joseph shouted about the dragon snake and pointed in the direction of the beach. Now, Borean could hardly believe his eyes. He even asked his wife to get his binoculars so he could get a better look at it. He said the creature made a bright, star-like light, about 60 feet in diameter. After several minutes, the creature submerged itself in the water. A few minutes later, the creature surfaced with even stronger light. They continued to watch it until it disappeared over the top of the coconut trees. Now, Marius's friend told him that if he didn't see it one night, he was likely to see it the following night. It was that common.
Oh, wow.
And his friend was right, because over the course of 7 months, Marius had around 60 sightings.
Jeez.
Right.
Okay. Out of all the cryptids that I've looked into, that we've looked into, I have never heard of anybody having that frequent of sightings with anything. Yeah. That is crazy.
So let's stop thinking about cryptids.
Okay. It's hard, but I'll try.
What is something else that might have these qualities? And we do have documentation that they're seen this frequently. What do you think?
UFOs. Yep.
After he got a really good look, Marius wasn't convinced that what he saw was a dragon, at least not in the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
He showed his fishing partners a copy of a Time Life book. You remember those?
Yeah.
Time Life books, big hardbound things. This one was called The Universe. And he explained to the locals what they referred to as a dragon, Westerners call UFOs. Okay?
That sounds like a bunch of like ancient Chinese legends of dragons that people think are UFOs.
Right. Because you got to think, man, especially with dragons, the ancient depiction of dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many.
Yep.
What were they seeing?
Right.
They were seeing something.
Something flying, yeah.
Something had to inspire this.
Yep. All right, Matt. So let's talk about one of our favorite sponsors, Undies. Now, I'm just going to say I love my Undies, but, the thing about being a guy is we're kind of stuck with the appearance we've got. You and I can't really get away with wearing push-up bras. That just, there's not anything there that is going to enhance, and despite you having a pair of meggings that accentuate your butt, I can't get away with that. I don't have enough of a butt to do that. But the cool thing about Undies is they have a contoured pouch and ball caddy line, and those are my favorite. I mean, I am a big fan of those ball caddy things, and we started trying the Undies, and it's amazing how comfortable they are and how they keep things separated and lifted as well. And they say 9 out of 10 women swear that this sophisticated brief technology will make everything look a lot bigger. And that's really all that matters, right? And for me personally with mine, I've noticed they are so comfortable that I can sleep in them, which is rare for me to be able to sleep in boxer briefs because they normally are too tight and they just don't feel right. But these are so comfortable, and their micromodal fabric makes it so, it's almost like you're not wearing anything, which is fantastic, especially when you're trying to sleep or when you're trying to go do anything, like you're wearing nothing, but you're supported as well.
That's it. I was going to say, yet you're supported.
Right.
Like you're wearing nothing, but you've got support. And I told Adam before we started, I said, I save mine. I'm not going to wear these to mow the grass.
Right.
I'm gonna wear them when I can enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's true.
And they're a lot of fun, and they've got tons of different styles. They've got the black classics to fun styles or expressive prints. MeUndies has a look for everyone, and they come in sizes extra small to 4XL. So even for you bigger guys like me, we got you covered. And they guarantee a flattering cut for every body.
Matt, we need to talk about this real quick. You and I independently picked the exact same pattern.
Yes.
And we didn't.
Without talking to one another.
Yeah, we didn't know this. And so now, on some days, when I put that pair on, I'm like, I wonder if Matt's looks exactly like mine does today.
So, listen. If you guys want to feel unmatched comfort and maybe match underwear with Adam and I.
Right.
All you've got to do is go to meundies.com/graveyard. That's GRAVEYARD. And you can get 20% off your first order plus free shipping.
That's right. That's meundies.com/graveyard, GRAVEYARD, for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
So Boreon began to research these sightings as UFOs instead of cryptids, entertaining the idea that the Solomon Islands could be concealing an actual UFO base. Now, here is an excerpt from Boreon's writing. This sighting was the first of well over 60 more to follow, during which time I investigated the UFO Waterfall Lake base of northwest Guadalcanal and later the UFO bases of the central east coast of Malaysia, Malatia. That's a hard one. Okay. Now, this first sighting had completely changed my mind about the existence of extraterrestrials. And a little investigation revealed that this so-called dragon snake had been in the area for well over a century. I realistically began thinking in terms of extraterrestrials inhabiting our planet.
Yeah.
My extensive investigation into the presence of extraterrestrials on Guadalcanal and Maleta has revealed that these supposedly hidden to the eye aliens have displayed unacceptable and unfriendly behavior towards the Guadalcanal and Maleta people. He said, indeed, there have been several outright abductions and murders. Because of this, they can't be considered friendly. For example, the grandfather of a good friend of mine was incinerated by one of these UFOs around the early 1900s. Several independent sources have verified this. Countless horrific stories can be heard throughout these islands.
Wow. Incinerated.
Yeah. So when I got to this point,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, this took a twist.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to this point, I did two things. Number one, I was like,
Picked your jaw up off the floor.
yeah, but I was like, how in the heck have we not heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, It was one thing for us not to have heard of a remote cryptid. It's another thing for us not to have heard of potential UFOs inhabiting a group of islands in the South Pacific.
Yeah, and have a base out there.
Multiple bases.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the sightings are so frequent and the interactions with humans is so violent and hostile. Why are we hearing about this? So the second thing I did was I went back and made sure that I hadn't gone down a rabbit hole that was complete fiction. I'm serious. I looked up this book because I was like, am I reading fiction now? Have I completely gone off the grid and I'm about to do a show about something that isn't even remotely true? It's just all made up. Nope. The book is real. It is not a work of fiction. Okay. It was written by Marius Boireon, and it details all of these stories about what he experienced investigating this on the Solomon Islands.
Well, and one thing that keeps popping into my head, we've mentioned several times that UFOs seem to be attracted to war.
Mm-hmm.
You had World War II. You had, the Battle of Guadalcanal there, which was a big battle. So were they, I know we've heard, quote, stories since the 1500s being told. Do you think it increased, because of the Guadalcanal battle being there? Or do you think there was a battle because the UFOs were there? I don't know.
It's not clear, but the battle does play into this heavily. Okay. Now, Joseph told Marius the story of when he and his brother Ben had encountered the UFO while out fishing. He said that the three of them were in their dugouts at about midnight when they saw the UFO. Initially, they were separated by about 50 meters. As if curious about each of the fishermen, the UFO hovered over them each for about a minute and then departed at incredible speed toward the island of Santa Isabel. By the time all three had finally reached the shore, they were spread out over a kilometer's distance along the beach. Okay. So they were kind of each in their own dugout out there in the water, and they were probably about, 50 meters apart. And after this thing came around and they start getting hauling butt back to the beach, they're spread out for, almost a mile.
Yeah.
So Marius began to ask questions like, what was so interesting for the UFO down in the sea where it was submerging all the time? Where did it go when it wasn't flying around?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't see these things during the day.
Yeah.
So it was weird. So as he starts looking, he notices that the part of the sea that was right in front of the village was where the Allied forces had encountered a Japanese fleet in a battle that resulted in the biggest loss of Allied ships during any naval engagement in World War II. So this battle included the Australian heavy cruiser, the HMAS Canberra, and the American heavy cruiser, the USS Chicago. And he noted that the site where the Dragon Snake UFO would submerge was the exact spot where these ships had gone down.
Oh, wow. All right.
So Boyareon continued to investigate the island, and he learned of a big waterfall high up in the mountains with a lake beneath it, which the water falls. They said that inside that lake is where the dragon snake lived. So it was during this time, Marius is looking into everything. He's getting all this info, and he's like, this is totally bizarre. That Joseph comes to Marius one morning and said there had been another attack on a local fisherman. So they visited the fisherman in the hospital, and they found him covered in bandages from burns all over his body. So here is that fisherman's story. It says, Joseph began to speak with him in the Guadalcanal language to try to find out exactly what had happened to him. He had been out fishing in his fiberglass boat at about 3 a.m. when he saw the dragon snake flying. In foolishness, he shined his flashlight at him, okay, and it drew him over there. And so again, he tries to escape and head to the beach, and it fired the light at him, hitting him. It left scorches on the boat's interior, and when he drove his boat back up the beach, the dragon snake followed him, just like the previous story.
Yep.
Okay? He said when he finally made it back to the village, they took him to the hospital. Okay? Now, he's burnt up. Okay? And Marius was there. Okay? So like I said, this is just like, the other story.
Yep.
But it continues to get weirder. So while discussing this situation with his father-in-law, John, Marius explained that white men have told stories about these little men that pilot the flying dragons or UFOs. So he went on to describe what we now refer to as grays.
Oh.
John told him that there was a book in the local library that had drawings of creatures like this. And they were taken from descriptions by eyewitnesses on the island. Now, this 15-page book had 14 detailed hand-drawn sketches of aliens. And it's sitting there in the library.
That's weird.
Because the Solomon Islands were so separated from the rest of the world that they had never seen any of this.
Yeah.
They didn't know about aliens or UFOs or any of this.
Yeah.
They were experiencing it fresh and had their own outlook about it.
And that lends a lot of credence to it, because if you're that far removed from, quote, pop culture, then you're not getting influenced by, oh, hey, here's a movie about this. Here's a book written about this, because it hasn't made it to the Solomon Islands, and you're not being influenced. You're just drawing or writing about what you saw.
Yeah.
And it's like the stories we get from ancient disparate cultures that they see the same thing and write about the same thing, but it's like, how did, they wouldn't have been able to communicate to share that story.
Yeah.
So how do they have such similar stories?
And again, at this point, I'm like, am I sure this isn't fiction?
Right.
Because you couldn't write a script better than this.
Yeah.
But Marius is learning at this point that they've all seen it. They all understand it. He's just asking the wrong questions. Because what he's already got in his head what these things are called and what they do, and they don't know any of that. They have their own idea of what these things are and what to call them and everything. So they're not telling him this information because they don't understand what he's talking about. It's like, do you have an apple? No, we don't have any apples. But we have these red things that grow on trees, and we like to eat them. They taste pretty good.
Yeah.
That's an apple. Oh, no, we call it whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what he was facing at this point. Now, later on, Marius would actually venture up into the mountains to the waterfall, the one that the locals had told him was the home of the dragon snake.
Mm-hmm.
So he and Joseph hiked up to a vantage point one night after dark, and around 2:35 a.m., they spotted a UFO heading out of the entrance of the valley. He describes the UFO as heading straight toward them at a height of about 300 feet. Then it suddenly made an abrupt 45-degree turn and sped away. So when you ask, because I know you want to ask, why didn't he get any pictures or videos?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marius explains that they were on an island in 1995 where the inhabitants had essentially been isolated from modern amenities. In fact, Marius goes on to explain that there was only one other white man on the island at the time. So he would have been the only person to likely have a camera of any type.
Mm-hmm.
But Marius already knew that he didn't have one. And since his finances were tied up in the purchase of his home and the move to the island, he was kind of stuck.
Yeah.
He didn't have any way to get one. There wasn't one on the island he could borrow.
Not a
he
Kodak
didn't have
store.
enough money to find one and ship one to him.
Yeah.
And in 95, there was no Google, no Amazon.
Right.
No Prime shipping.
Yeah. No Amazon drone to drop one off at your island house.
Yeah. He would have had to have found a catalog that would have delivered there, which wasn't going to happen. Or he would have had to pay to go back to Australia, get a camera, and then come back. And like he said, all of his money was tied up in this. He couldn't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
He moved out here to retire, not chase UFOs.
Right.
So Marius continued his expeditions and ultimately authored the book that I mentioned earlier, Solomon Island Mysteries. The book is a personal account of what Boy Rayon uncovered. However, numerous accounts from islanders exist from decades back before Marius ever started looking into this. One such account relates the story of a man claiming to be from NASA, visiting the island in 1961. According to the story, the man asked to be shown the entrances of where the dragon snake emerged from. Oddly enough, those natives that showed the alleged NASA visitor the location happened to be relatives of Boy Rayon's wife.
Really?
So these are like ancestors, like, great grandfathers and stuff.
That's a coincidence.
Yeah. But understand, there wasn't a lot of people on this island.
That's a valid point.
A lot of them were related. One of the locations that this man visited was a 50-meter diameter circular reef. Locals that fished this hole say that they have lowered 200 meters of 100-pound fishing line and have not reached the bottom. UFOs have been spotted going in and out of this hole nightly. So you've essentially got this reef that's just round.
Yeah.
It's about, I guess, 10 feet under the water. And it's 50 feet wide. And then it just pew down.
And I guess the good question is, like, do we know this reef is natural?
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
You know?
And that has been one of the more prominent criticisms of this book, is that it could have used more documentation.
Yeah.
But in Boyer-Rayon's defense, this was such a shock to him, and what he experienced while he was there, what was so out of the ordinary, that he wasn't a researcher. He was an engineer. He was a former military guy.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't his gig. He was just trying to tell his story.
He wasn't like a reporter before he retired. So
yeah, but it would be better if there were some documents about the reef, about the mountain, all that stuff. And apparently the book does not. I did not read the entire book. I read an extended excerpt of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 2010, here's another one. This one was actually, I found in an article from a local newspaper called the Solomon Times. In 2010, locals reported a small plane going down and crashing in the jungle. However, investigators were never able to find any evidence of the crash. I mean, it's a newspaper article.
Yeah.
And they mention, hey, we know this place is weird. And they even reference Boyer-Rayon's book in this newspaper article. And they're just like, chalk this up to another mystery.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Solomon Islands Triangle, like the Bermuda Triangle.
Exactly. Now, Boyer-Rayon describes these odd gemstones that are owned by his wife's family. He said these gemstones have a specific gravity that's much higher than diamonds. And they also have a refractive index that is so high that they can produce a mirror image from the center of the stone. I mean, I've never heard of anything like this.
No, that's weird.
Other islanders have reported other types of crafts, the large stingray-shaped UFOs with these big round lights that hum as they go across the jungle. Almost like a search thing, a patrol. Not an attack, just hey, we're going to look around.
Yeah. Reconnaissance.
But even with all this, many of the locals still describe the large winged snake with the red eyes, meaning that maybe those creatures, along with the UFOs, do inhabit this island. But the dragon snake could be a living thing because there are other dragon snakes that from other areas, like the Mount Kansing dragon snake from Indonesia. And both of these are hostile to humans. But the difference is the Indonesian dragon snake did not spit fire. Okay? So there was no scorching of any people.
Yeah.
Not in Indonesia.
That scorching thing, that it makes sense. If you're talking UFOs, it wouldn't be shooting like a flamethrower. It would be shooting some type of beam,
Right.
a radioactive beam or laser beam, lasers or something. So, but yeah, maybe it's two things.
Yeah. But, and a lot of people that have actually done some research in this say the description resembles a living pterosaur, like a pterosaur cryptid. Kind of like we mentioned, the ropin or the Kangamato or the orang batty, or like we mentioned, the Mount Kansing dragon snake and the British Columbian pterosaur. So there are similarities out there, and we've discussed those in a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really, it threw me for a loop, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this much UFO information collected by a single individual.
Right.
But, essentially the data was already there. He just had to know where to look and who to talk to.
Yeah. And that many sightings, that frequent, there's got to be something going on. I even hate to say if this is legit, because obviously these people are seeing something.
Right.
So there's got to be something happening there.
Yeah.
And there's got to be something under the water, because if these islands are so small and there was a war there, if it was on an island, we would have seen something.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be, like that big hole in the reef that you were mentioning. It has to be something like that.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of stories about USOs, unidentified submerged objects. So could that be what this is?
Yeah. So the reef, the big hole, the lake with the waterfall are just two of the entrances. But it is believed that there are 6 entrances across the Solomon Islands. And think about it. I mean, you've got that reef. You can't find the depth of that hole. What is the odds that it connects with that lake in the island? It's pretty high.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they can get that deep, they're liable to be completely underneath the island.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then a little hole that they're able to sneak up through.
And now there is one other theory, and the only reason I'm going to mention it is because we've just recently talked about this. Because of the giants that have been documented there is an idea that these giants were Nephilim.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so that would make these weird dragons jinn.
Right.
And like I said, that it's kind of an oddball theory, but it goes back more to the giants being Nephilim than it does, the actual dragon snake. But you can't look at the Solomon Islands without at least touching on the giants, because it just plays into the weirdness of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just limited to this dragon snake UFO activity. I mean, there's so much other stuff. I mean, we could do an entire show just on the giants.
Yeah. And we might.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really bizarre. But all I can do is chalk this up to the fact that maybe people look at this just like I did and go, this has got to be fiction.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm into this stuff, surely to God, I've heard of this before. But maybe because it's so remote, and I say that, I mean, it's right off the coast of Papua New Guinea, but, there aren't a lot of, it's just, there's no resorts and stuff, popping up there. It's not turned into that. So the islanders that that are native to the islands, they're born, live, and die there. They don't typically get exposure from the rest of the world. So, maybe that's how it's managed to be for so long.
Yeah, probably so.
But I could sure imagine, and Marius mentions this in the book, that he had to stop and think what were the potential negatives to him pursuing this. And the idea that there would be someone or some type of organization or entity that would not appreciate him looking into it could be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, that would make anybody a little nervous, especially if you read all the stories from the U.S. about Men in Black and, that kind of stuff. You think, I best not talk too much about this.
Yeah.
But I think if there was a global UFO conspiracy to keep this quiet, they've just blown this one off as, it's just one guy wrote a book. Nobody's going to believe it.
Yeah.
And the people that do believe it, they're all the conspiracy theorists that believe everything else. So that's not going to do anything. And they just kind of let it be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be easier just to brush this one under the rug.
Sure.
Because I mean, we see it with stuff in the United States. Just some hillbilly saw that. Don't worry about it. That's not an actual thing. That's just some dumb hillbilly. And it's like, or it's just some native story, legend.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the news media coverage the Las Vegas thing got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not hearing about it now.
No.
But I'm telling you, I see it. I see the videos. I see the discussion groups. There are still people analyzing this video. There are still people discussing it. There are still people finding things, in that video through enhancements and whatnot. So people are still looking at it, but the media is not.
Right.
So who cares? Essentially, anything that comes out now is going to be just like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So why should we address it? The less we say, the better.
Right. We don't have to go into it. If we don't bring it up, people will just forget about it.
Right. So Adam, did this fulfill all of your expectations?
It did.
And then some.
It tickled the cryptid bone a little bit, and then moved into the UFO thing, and it went a totally different way than I thought it would. But looking back to my thoughts in the beginning, it, like, my head was already kind of around that. It seemed like with the lasers and stuff, it was like, this doesn't seem like this seems like something weird.
Yeah.
And then you moved into the UFO and everything started falling into place. And I was like, okay. All right. I see. Frequency of sightings, the type of sightings, the fact that it zips around in and out of the water. It shoots not fire, but something else. And it looks more like a manta ray type thing. That's not a dragon. That's a UFO type shape.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Crazy cool story.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us what you think. Do you think this is legit, and that there has been this UFO that has been misidentified as a cryptid for all these decades, centuries even? do you think there could potentially be a UFO base or bases in and around the Solomon Islands? I know that this has become the hot button now, that the UFOs come from under the water, that they're not from outer space, that they're here already, and they have been.
You and I have talked about that
Right.
several times, that it's highly possible that these are not extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
These are just a race of beings that we aren't fully aware of. And that's why it's being kept from us, is because we've lived with these things for so long, and the governments are like, hey, we can't tell them that.
Right.
We can't let them know that these things have been around us since time immemorial. I mean,
and I wouldn't even go as far as to say that the government really knows all of it. I would imagine there may be a select group of people that have government ties that know. But it's not like, oh, hey, you just got elected to office. Read this.
Yeah. Right.
Like, no, it ain't gonna work that way. But tell us what you think. And the best place to do that is in our Facebook group. There you can share your ideas, your weird experiences, your ghost stories. We just want to hear those fantastic experiences, so nobody's going to call you out. Nobody's going to call you a nut job. It's a fun group. So go check that out. Don't forget to check out our website, graveyardpodcast.com. And there you can find links to purchase Graveyard Tales merch. You can listen to the show, and that is where you can become a patron. Don't forget, if you haven't done it already, our $10 patrons are enjoying our new show, Side Quest. So be sure and get in there and check it out. Even if it's just for a month, I guarantee you it's different than anything we've done before. I think you're going to enjoy it. So until next time, we'll save you a seat in the graveyard.
See you soon.